Time and time again, we have heard tales of the legendary Lady Koi Koi, Miss Koi Koi, Madam Koi Koi, who haunts hostels in Nigerian schools. This story used to be like one of my favorite scary stories to hear when I was younger. So you can imagine my excitement when I learned that the origin, Madam Koi Koi, is coming to Netflix. But did it live up to our expectations?
As someone who went to boarding school, I was really expecting this movie, and I love to hear these tales. These stories used to creep me out back then, but I really enjoy hearing stories of how people say, oh, I heard her shoe noise, all those kind of things. So everyone was anticipating this movie. It's set in the year 1991. The story begins with Amanda. Amanda is plagued by a disturbing dream as she reluctantly starts a new school in a small town, Malomo. This missionary school is led by a stern mother superior who is bent on maintaining it. However, things take a dark turn and her efforts are compromised when 4 of her top students assaulted their classmates. This singular incident triggers the awakening of this mysterious, vengeful spirit, and this led to the death or the killing of people around town. First of all, it was one of the students, then 2 members of the community.
Jay Franklyn Jituboh directed this film, and he also co-wrote the screenplay with Dale Falola, and it's said to be a 2-part film. But as at the time of this recording, we are not sure when the second part will be out. I was very excited to see this film, but I don't feel like this film actually did justice to the entire story. Although the film is just set in a student environment as it should be, a boarding school, it did not focus on the students and their own activities, because most of the times it's students that have really experienced these encounters with this person or claim to have seen this entity. So this film did not really show that part. It was just following this nun trying to save this school from being closed down, and 4 boys who are very brilliant, but then they sexually assault a classmate of theirs. So that really awakens the spirit. Although that's like the students are related to this lady reappearing or whatever, I expect that it should happen within the school. I don't see how the community should have been involved in this thing. When
we anticipated this movie, I said earlier that this movie would have been like from the point of view of young adults, purely young adults. I'm just going to put it straight up. It was bland. When you hear Madam Koi Koi, I was expecting creeps, like chills down your spine. I was expecting a full-fledged horror film, but this one, there was no really horror there. Coming from a boarding school, we already know how these things, people gather, we're talking about the story, how I heard.
Like when members of boarding schools switch schools, I'm like, oh my god, really? This happened?
The origin, I was just expecting more. There was no jump scare, no one part that I was not scared.
The only thing that was even building anticipation or suspense was just the soundtrack, and one of the characters, the Baba, facial expressions was actually building that. But nothing in this film actually did justice to the entire Lady Koi Koi.
I just really wish it was more young adults.
And the worst part is the fact that the sound Koi Koi is the sound of her footsteps coming. The sound that was in this film, they even wrote it with the caption, giant footsteps.
Yes.
No! The only time that you heard the little Koi Koi was when Amanda was actually dreaming about this thing. But the 3 times that this entity appeared in this entire film was the sound of giant footsteps. So I feel like it was just off the story. You already took it away from that. I expected an origin story, but I did not get that.
They would have given it to young adults to try and fix stuff, to try and investigate what's going on in their hostel, because those are people that own the story. Boarding school students, but there's nothing. I don't like this origin story, sorry.
Maybe if we see the second part of the film, maybe it will make sense, but right now the entire story does not really make a lot of sense to me. For the characters, we have Amanda, played by Martha Ehinome. I think she was a good actress. I think all the actors playing the young characters here, they are very good. Their facial expressions, except from the one who played Edna, Nene. I did not really like her. I felt like she was overacting that role, and it seemed like she just wanted to deliver her lines. The other person I also felt, although she's a very great actress, was Ireti, playing the administrator, mother superior here. She was the second person that made me feel like she was just overacting her role.
I don't think Ireti Doyle was overacting. That's exactly how this Reverend Sisters act most of the time. Even a scene that was very relatable when Ibukun came into her office and she did not even answer the gate. The girl was just standing. That's like, so relatable.
I'm not saying every time, but sometimes I felt like she was overacting it.
For the characters, I think that the main character, Amanda, she acted her role well, and one can't help but wonder if she's instrumental to the entire story, because why does she keep on having recurring dreams about Lady Koi Koi, and now she's tied to these boys that assault girls. I just really wish that the movie took a different turn.
Characters who got any kind of development. I don't feel like this entire part that was released was just like an introduction to the characters.
Hopefully from part 2 we see something interesting, but right now for this part 1 it was pretty bland. And also trigger warning. When I say trigger warning, believe me, trigger warning, because there are really harsh scenes in this movie, so be guided. Thank you.
The end did not really leave me with any satisfaction. I don't feel like, oh, I just saw such a great horror film that scared me or anything like that. It was just there for me by the end.
The end was same for me. Like I said earlier, it's a bland movie. I felt nothing. I judge movies by how they made me feel at the end of the day. I was not drawn to any character. I don't feel any empathy or anything towards anybody. I'm just watching and saying, okay, this is a young adult story, and we know of young adults trying to solve mysteries in other movies and all of that. So I really wanted the young adults to be involved from the beginning to the end.
I know there are different versions, but I don't think there was anything mind-blowing about his own version.
Let us see the chapter 2, but this chapter 1, I don't know.
Yeah, how would you rate it?
I rate it 2 out of 5.
I would give it 3 because the acting is really nice. But the entire
my 2. I'll take back my 2. I'll give it a 3 because I know that okay, there was an effort here. But it's just that I don't like the storyline, and I was waiting for intrigue. I wanted horror. I wanted to be scared. I wanted to feel chills, and I did not.
I wanted to see the origin story.
Although it alternated that it took us back to the 1980s, but still.
3 stars is just because of the good acting, and I hope that we see better things in the second part of this film.
So do not forget to like this video, share, and tell us your thoughts on the origin Madam Koi Koi. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What's the biggest addition for you that you liked? Yes. And if you're going to see it at all. For me, if you're a fan of horror movies, this is just like a walk in the park, a cakewalk. Like if you know you love hardcore movies, I would say don't bother, except you just want something that will just be background noise. Goodbye.